Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. This is your host, MagMongoSlade. So today we're going to talk about Ahmed Johnson. So Ahmed Johnson does a video with Sportskeeda where he claims that Vince McMahon told him due to the way he left the WWF, he can never be in the WWE Hall of Fame. And that, so let's take this piece by piece. For starters, let's ask the question, is Ahmed Johnson a Hall of Famer? Before we get into the rest of this stuff that I'm going to talk about, is Ahmed Johnson a Hall of Famer? Well, that depends on what your definition of the Hall of Fame means. Now, when they did the Wrestling Observer newsletter Hall of Fame, right, there were people talking about Sputnik Monroe. Some people say, oh, Sputnik Monroe shouldn't have been in the Wrestling Observer newsletter Hall of Fame, even though he helped desegregate wrestling. And some people say, oh, that's the only thing he's ever done. You know, the only thing he did was desegregate wrestling. You know, we're not going to put him in the Hall of Fame just for that. So Ahmed Johnson, in some ways, desegregated the singles division by being the first black Intercontinental Champion. Now, this was in 1996 for all you young people. Now, that was a big deal. I was watching wrestling at the time. I watched that event happen live. I watched it happen. Well, via pay-per-view, of course, but I watched it. I had a friend down the street whose dad was a big wrestling fan, and he used to always order the pay-per-views, and we would go down there and watch them. Great shit, you know. So it was a great time. Now, of course, looking back on it, Ahmed Johnson was the Black Ultimate Warrior as far as being careless, as far as being indelicate with his kicks and punches, but he was very intense. He's a lot like Goldberg. He's kind of like Goldberg before Goldberg. Goldberg, Warrior, Ahmed Johnson, these guys are very similar. And so much as they get so riled up that they don't care about their opponent. They get so fired up that they get brainless, and it leads them to hurting other people. Ahmed Johnson has an entire history of him hurting other people, has an entire history of having immense amounts of heat on himself. That probably is the reason why he's not in the Hall of Fame. So, what kind of heat does Ahmed Johnson have? For starters, before we even get into that, though, this is how he left the WWF. Ahmed Johnson has told this story multiple times, right? In 2005, he told the story that he walked out of the WWF, that he wasn't fired, that he walked out. He was at Raw. He was told what to do. He walked out. He says in 2005, he claimed that during Monday Night Raw, he didn't like the creative, so he left. And he left in 1998. So Ahmed Johnson had a pretty good year from 95 to 97. Injuries and not being able to speak English and all that kind of stuff really ruined his career. And Ahmed Johnson is from Florida, for the record. So his inability to speak English is complete Negro mushmouth stuff. Okay? Which made me like him even more because I was a kid who had mushmouth as well and kind of still do. Then, so, you know, I felt represented that a guy who could barely speak was the Intercontinental Champion. I thought that was great, right? I thought that was awesome. But this is what he claims. He claims he left Monday Night Raw because he didn't want to do what the company wanted him to do. 3 years later, in 2008, he claimed he walked out on Monday Night Raw because his sister was dying of cancer and it was affecting his performance and he couldn't be there anymore. So he didn't tell Vince, didn't tell the agents, didn't tell anybody. He just got up and left. He maintains that he never told Vince that he was leaving. He never told Vince that the agents were leaving. Told the agents that he was leaving. He just left. So in both stories, he just left. And the third story is a combination of the two. He claims he was told that the Truth Commission was supposed to drag him up the ramp with a rope, apparently around his neck, and that his sister was a big wrestling fan and had cancer. He didn't want his sister to see him in that way, so he left. And then he said his sister died 3 days later. So we don't know what's true. It might be similar to the Ultimate Warrior where, you know, we don't know what's going on, but the guy keeps changing his story. He's changed his story multiple times on multiple different issues. And this is what I mean by him having such tremendous amounts of heat. This is a guy who said that Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels scribbled racist graffiti on his car. Let me tell you the story about that. So Ahmed Johnson says after he won the Intercontinental title, he went back to his rental car and somebody had scribbled "Congratulations, nigger" on the car. He then said that fans told him Stone Cold Steve Austin did it. He then said, "Oh, I also heard that Shawn Michaels did it." Right? He didn't see either one of them do it. He continues to tell this story. He's been consistent that somebody scribbled on his car, "Congratulations, nigger." But he says that even though he can't prove that they did it, he always got racist vibes from Stone Cold Steve Austin and maintains that Stone Cold Steve Austin is racist. No real reason for it, right? That got him a whole lot of heat, of course. What also got him a whole lot of heat, he claimed that The Rock was joking with Shawn Michaels and Triple H that he was not black because his mama fucked a white man. He claims that The Rock was going around telling people that Rocky Johnson wasn't his real father, and that made Ahmed Johnson so mad that he confronted The Rock over it, and the two got into a fight. Then, when asked about the question later on in a different interview, he claims that the fight with The Rock was not about that. It was about the fact that The Rock didn't want to cooperate. He was willing to do whatever The Rock wanted to do in the match, but The Rock didn't want to do what he wanted to do in the match. So they got cross wires off that. You know, he got the old, "that won't work for me, brother," and all of a sudden he was ready to fight. But that wasn't it. He also said that The Rock had a problem with his last name Johnson. That The Rock was offended that Ahmed Johnson had the last name Johnson because Dwayne Johnson obviously is The Rock. Rocky Johnson is The Rock's dad. And so Ahmed Johnson said, well, The Rock was being petty. He was mad about the name. He didn't want to cooperate. And so we got into a fight. And I'm stupefied by that. You know, for starters, we're only going to get one side of this story because I sincerely doubt The Rock is going to care enough about Ahmed Johnson to sit down and have a conversation about this. Right? I don't think he cares. And and The Rock was a rookie when, you know, that 96, 97 year, The Rock was barely on the show himself. Right now, I know that later 97, he became sort of kind of a big deal. In 98, by the time Ahmed was gone, The Rock was kind of taken over. But this sounds like it'd have been a 97, right? Or late 96, which is when The Rock debuted. Rock debuted in late 96. So then the biggest issue that got him so much heat is that he hurt Ron Simmons. He apparently hurt Ron Simmons in a match, which led to Ron Simmons getting a receipt where he kicked him in the kidneys and almost killed him. This effectively ended Ahmed Johnson's wrestling career, not wrestling career, but his Intercontinental title run, which essentially is his career because he never did anything else other than that. But he has maintained that Ron Simmons did this on purpose as a receipt for him accidentally hurting Ron. So he pretty much admits that he hurt Ron. But then they said that Ron went too far in getting his receipt and kicked him in the kidneys and almost killed him. Now, it is true that Ahmed Johnson was injured by Ron Simmons. That is absolutely true. That was actually recognized on TV. That was actually the linchpin of the great storyline between the two of them. Is that they were going to fight for the Intercontinental title, but Farouk got a little overzealous, kicked him, hurt him, and Ahmed was sitting at home for a long time. And they was building up this storyline between the two of them. That led to the excellent feud. The second best thing he's ever done, outside of being an Intercontinental champion, was his feud with Ron Simmons. It was fantastic. I maintained as one of my favorite feuds as a kid. Just as watching, I couldn't tell you, if the matches were any good. I know they probably had one or two matches that were probably okay, but I loved the street fight that they had, the Nation of Domination versus the Legion of Doom and Ahmed Johnson. It was the Chicago Street Fight, WrestleMania 13. I'm gonna do a match commentary on that because I loved it so much. The Nation of Domination at that point was Savio Vega, Crush, Farouk, PG-13, and I think Clarence Mason and D'Lo Brown was there too. But D'Lo Brown was kind of like an extra. So all that stuff happened. So you got this guy. Then he recently came out and said that D'Lo Brown was a reckless worker and that he stopped being friends with D'Lo after D'Lo hurt Draws, and called Mark Henry an ass kisser. And he just has been he has put like a tremendous amount of heat on himself. I think that is what's keeping him out of the Hall of Fame. Not exactly that Vince told him, well, due to the way you left, pal, we can't put you in the Hall of Fame. It's like, what? There have been people who have sent Vince death threats who got into the Hall of Fame. So I don't think that's it. I think that is probably the tremendous amount of fucking heat that he went and got for himself. And this is somebody who was he was the Lashley of his time, and so much that he was both a Vince McMahon and a Michael Hayes project. He has always talked about this, how Vince always liked him, and how Michael Hayes was the one who helped him get a job, and that Michael Hayes was the one pushing for him to become the world champion. And that, obviously this, of course, made them cross with Shawn Michaels, which is why he believed Shawn Michaels congratulations nigga on his car. That, well, he was going to be the world champion eventually. So he figured Shawn was going to, was trying to intimidate him or trying to run him off or something like that. Completely believable, I guess, because Shawn was like hopped up on pills. But I don't think, well, it depends on what do you think. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section about that. But this guy has put a tremendous amount of heat on himself. He has made no friends. He has made absolutely no friends. He claimed to have been friends with Booker T and Stevie Ray from their younger days, that they all kind of started together. And that of course led to him to go to WCW when he was, very big, very, very big, super big T. He was a Vince Russo hire in WCW. So I don't know if the Hall of Fame is just, well, due to where you left, pal, you just walked out on us. Well, I don't think Vince would be that upset about that. I think he would probably give him the Hall of Fame just to celebrate that he was the first Black Intercontinental Champion, if nothing else, right? But I think that due to the tremendous amount of heat that he put on himself, calling people racist, calling people ass kissers, calling people names, his reputation for hurting people and not being the best worker in the world, not being the nicest guy in the world, I think that's probably what's keeping him out of the Hall of Fame. Because who's gonna vouch for him? Most fans don't remember him because he only had a 3-year run, and then of those 3 years, he was only hot for 2. And one of those 2 years that he was hot was the worst year in the business history, 1995. That's when he debuted. So most people only remember that he was the first Black Intercontinental Champion. And then some people say that's not enough. Now, I'm in the camp that it is enough. And I think that he should be in the Hall of Fame. And I think that, he's not helping people celebrate him. I don't think that, there's not going to be a line of people who are going to be interested in celebrating the first Black Intercontinental Champion because of the amount of heat that he got and all the stuff that he said about other Black wrestlers and, some of the other guys who would be in attendance. I could see Steve Austin not being there. Can't see Shawn not showing up. After this guy called him a racist for fucking 25 years. I can't see, I can't see people, rolling out the red carpet that care about Ahmed Johnson. And it's a shame, but he's one of those guys who had a very short run. It was very tumultuous. It was full of injuries and a lot of negativity. He has mixed outcomes really with the Office. They always liked him personally and pushed him and gave him an opportunity, but do the fans really remember him? Unlike Ultimate Warrior, unlike Goldberg, who got to the pinnacle, maybe they only had a 2 or 3 year run, but they got to the pinnacle. They got to the top. And they were memorable for longer periods of time. Ahmed Johnson won the Intercontinental title and then almost immediately got hurt. Ahmed Johnson also lied about his age. And Vince found out that he was actually 33 instead of being like 28. He told Vince that he was born in 1972. He was really born in 1963. So he was older than he told Vince that he was. He had already had some injuries that he lied about. So you talk about this guy who has, not the best track record. So I'm arguing that he should be in the Hall of Fame. That's going to be that's my contention. That, no, he's not a Goldberg in so much as he's got like these great squash matches or anything. He doesn't have any great, real over the top, fantastic moments outside of him spazzing out on Goldust for kissing him, which was great. Him spazzing out on Ron Simmons with the 2x4, which was awesome. His feud with the Nation of Domination, which was great. He just does not have the same resonance as other powerhouse wrestlers. Like, powerhouse wrestlers really don't have a long lifespan. So you have to do a lot in a short amount of time. Ahmed Johnson did a lot. He did something that was very, very important. He is a cultural icon, I guess you could say. But he's not the best guy in the world. So you're talking about a situation where you're going to be trying to celebrate mostly the achievement rather than the man itself. And I think you still have to do it. You know, I think you still have to do it. You might not want to do it, might not like it, but I still think you have to do it. And it'd probably be posthumous, if we're being honest. It'll probably be posthumous. But I still think he will be in the Hall of Fame. They probably just don't want anything to do with him personally because of all of his track record of pissing people off. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to this channel. Use the hashtag 3count commentaries to support the channel. Also, if you feel like you want to send cash, please do. Via the comment section will be the Cash App. I appreciate everybody who donates, man. Thank you guys so much. And I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah. Yeah.